You got it.
All right, good morning, everyone. Today we are talking with State Historian Rob Martinez. I am Heather McClanahan. I am the statewide coordinator for New Mexico National History Day, and I'm really excited to talk with Rob today about frontiers in New Mexico history, which is, of course, the theme for National History Day for 2023. So, Rob, when you're thinking about frontiers in New Mexico history, what comes to mind?
Well, thank you for having me. I think frontiers is a great topic. It opens up a lot of opportunities to explore history from so many different perspectives. In New Mexico history, frontiers are constantly moving, and not just in New Mexico, throughout the world. That's the history of humanity, is people moving, going to get food, better jobs, nicer place to live. So I think when we look at New Mexico history, we need to always start with the Native American history. The Pueblo people were here first, but they've been here for thousands of years. But other Native groups have come in, the Apache, the Navajo, Dene, Comanche people. So their movement into New Mexico is a frontier. And I was thinking about this topic. Frontiers aren't just from the perspective of the people moving forward into a frontier. Frontiers are created for the people who are already living in a place, and they are on the receiving end of people coming to their land. So I think it's important to look at frontiers from different perspectives, okay? So you have that frontier. Then you have the frontier of the Spanish. They are moving north, the frontera, we say, the border, right? Well, the Spanish had a history of frontiers in Spain for centuries, with many different people conquering and living there: Romans, Visigoths, Moors, Muslims. So you have that frontera, that frontier, moving from north to south in Spain over the course of 700 years, creating different new cultures and peoples. So the Spanish come to the Americas, and then they start moving north from what's now Mexico City in the 1500s. So those are frontiers as well, and that's a moving frontier. The Apacheria, the Apache Empire, is a nomadic empire that's constantly moving from Mexico into Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico. So there are a lot of opportunities for frontiers. How about the Americans coming from the east, moving west? That's a frontier, but that's from their perspective. How about the people who are already here? The Native Americans, the French, the Spanish, and the Mexicans, and the native Puebloan people here in New Mexico. So there's a lot of opportunities for frontiers.
Rob, I love that. And especially the idea that you're talking about, that it's not just one perspective, that's really what we try and study in National History Day, is the multiple perspectives of a story. And so reminding people that there were people in New Mexico when other people came to explore is great. And I hope our students will continue that. Well, as we delve into the theme, it breaks down into three sections: people, places, and ideas. So let's look at each of those. When you're thinking about frontiers in New Mexico history, what people do you think about?
I think of all New Mexicans. I think of conquest and colonization. It's never pleasant to be on the receiving end of these things, and yet they also bring good things and innovations. And I always tell people, it's not just the people who are conquered that are changed, it's the conquerors that get changed as well. So we need to look at the different peoples that are here. We're multicultural. The old myth of tricultural New Mexico is out the window. There's too many different kinds of people here. African history begins in 1539 with Estevanico, the first official Spanish representative to the Pueblos at Zuni. So our history is beautiful and complex and sometimes scary, but all the people in New Mexico are involved with this theme of frontiers.
Okay. One of the things that I've been thinking about is somebody like Clyde Tingley. Would you consider him sort of a pioneer in New Mexico history and some of like the progressive ideals that he brought with him when he came?
Well, not just Clyde Tingley. I think a lot of people had a vision. Juan de Oñate had a vision. Popé had a vision. Diego de Vargas had a vision. Padre Martinez of Taos had a vision. You know, that they're all getting to this idea that I've been thinking about, and I'm glad you're touching on it. Frontiers aren't just geographical. They are psychological, and they are metaphysical in a way. It's like you said, Clyde Tingley, these people who dream and want something more. That's a frontier as well. Nina Otero Warren, she was a frontierswoman going someplace that women had never gone before. So there's that idea as well. I was thinking about this frontier, the old Star Trek series. You know, it used to say space, the final frontier. These
Right.
are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. And even that changes with the Next Generation series. It changes from where no man has gone before to where no human has gone before. Because it's not just men that are frontiers people, women are. Women were part of the colonization of New Mexico during the colonial period. Women were a part of the Pueblo Revolt. Women were part of Americans coming on the Santa Fe Trail. Women are definitely part of frontier history in New Mexico.
Exactly. And so I think there are so many options for students to look at. So we talked about, and let's look a little bit further into this idea of a boundary or a barrier that a frontier could be. And when you're thinking about ideas, you know, you mentioned space, and of course down in Alamogordo we have the New Mexico Space Museum, which is a great place for people to study that history and to learn that really the space program in the United States started here in New Mexico, right? So what are some of the ideas that come to mind on frontiers?
Well, ideas are what you just said. You did a great job of summing it up. I mean, Robert Goddard, he started his rocket experiments in the Midwest, but then came to New Mexico. I think he had over 1,000 rockets launched here. That's the beginning of space travel and space exploration for our country. And New Mexico had a hand in that frontier history. So you know, there's ideas like that. The atomic bomb. Who knew what would happen? They didn't know. They knew, but they didn't, right? That's what a frontier. It's like you think you know what you're getting yourself into, but you're not quite sure. That's why you have to be really brave to be a person who goes into a frontier, which means going into the unknown. Whether you're a Pueblo family or a Spanish family or a Mexican family or a Black African family coming here, Jewish folks, people of Northern European extraction. It's a frontier. It's the unknown. They didn't know what would happen when they detonated that first atomic bomb. I think they were all holding their breath a little. They had a pretty good idea. They were smart men and women. A lot of women were involved in Los Alamos in the 1940s. Yes. And so that's what a frontier is. We think we know how this is going to turn out, but we're not quite sure.
That's fantastic. And I think that's what makes this topic so much fun and so great to explore. So if students are interested in any of these things we've talked about, if they've got other ideas, what is a good place for them to start their research into a frontier?
Well, obviously, the way you start your research is to find a topic that you love, that you're interested in, even obsessed with, that you can't stop thinking about, and then talk to your teacher. Your teacher is your first resource. After that, go to your school library. The librarians at your school library are a fantastic resource. Go to humans first, then go to the internet, okay? Because humans will lead you to books and articles. That's what you want to look at, secondary sources. After you do that, you can go online and find primary sources, actual documents dealing with your historical topic. The Spanish colonial documents of New Mexico, the Mexican period documents are all online at ancestry.com. So you can find these documents, but those are good places to go. There are libraries all over New Mexico, public libraries. The New Mexico State Library in Santa Fe is a great resource. The New Mexico State Record Center and Archives in Santa Fe is a good resource as well. So there is no lack of resources here. Go to museums, the New Mexico History Museum, the Space Museum in Alamogordo, do a field trip. There are all kinds of resources here in New Mexico.
Yeah, and one of the things that you mentioned, the state library, they actually have a page set up for National History Day about frontiers in New Mexico. And so they are set and ready to go and just waiting for students to get excited about their topics and get moving. So
yeah, they're fantastic over there.
yeah, and so then you are the state historian. What sort of resources does the Office of the State Historian provide?
Well, I'm a resource, of course, and then our deputy state historian, Nicolasa Chavez, is a resource. But really, we have a really cool website at www.newmexicohistory.org. There are a lot of articles there. At the top, if you click on people, it'll take you to a search engine. And there are tons of articles on there that are an excellent resource for students.
That's terrific. So I know that there are, there's a lot out there, and sometimes it's hard to narrow down, but I think your advice for, finding something that they're passionate about, talking to their teachers, and then going and exploring and finding whatever their frontier is.
Yeah, be a frontiers person.
That's right. You don't know what's at the end, but start that exploration, right? So, all right. Well, I'm not going to say that you are a primary resource for New Mexico history because, of course, you certainly weren't around in the 1500s when the Spanish were exploring or when General Kearny came down to Santa Fe, but you do have a lot of information. If a student gets into a topic that, you've got some information on, is it okay for them to contact you?
Yes, the best way to do that is to email me at rob.martinez@state.nm.us. I'll help out any way I can. And also our deputy state historian, Nicolasa Chavez at nicolasa.chavez@state.nm.us. And we'll help any way we can.
All right, super. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here today. Appreciate all of your information. And I hope you hear from lots of our students about the projects that they're going to be working on.
Sure. And they can also use my video series on YouTube, New Mexico History in 10 Minutes. They're 10-minute videos, very short and brief, but I go through all of New Mexico history. So that's also a good place to start.
Yes, exactly. And thank you for mentioning that. We do have several of those on our YouTube channel as well. And so, yeah, really look forward to seeing what our New Mexico students are going to do this year.
All right.